He would rather you be a victim. And I'll quote Joe Biden. Let me say that again. Joe Biden would rather you be a victim. We have cultural things to look at and we have economic things to look at. But we have at the first a recognition of our Second Amendment rights, our right under God and nature's laws to protect and defend ourselves and the ones we love. And nothing or no one can get in the way of that. I'm Tony Katz. Did you know that My Pillow is about more than just a fantastic pillow? Now My Pillow has given the same attention that they've given their pillows to their towels. Their proprietary technology in each My Pillow towel makes them highly absorbent and soft to the touch without that lotion feel I have. These towels, they're great. When you order the 6-piece set, you get 2 hand and 2 bath towels as well as 2 washcloths. They're available in a variety of colors and sizes, machine washable, durable, come with a 10-year warranty and a 60-day money-back guarantee. Visit mypillow.com to learn more. And right now, for all of you, all 6-piece towel sets, 2 sets for 1 low price. Just use promo code TONY, T-O-N-Y at checkout, or call 800-873-0758. That's mypillow.com, code TONY, T-O-N-Y, or call 1-800-873-0758 for 2-piece towel sets for 1 low price. mypillow.com, promo code TONY. You don't have to miss any part of Tony Katz today. Solve that problem by subscribing to the podcast at rumble.com. Rumble is a video sharing service like Tube Guys. They aren't playing around with demonetizing and deplatforming content they don't like. I'm on Rumble because rumble.com allows me to do well. Go to rumble.com, search for Tony Katz, T-O-N-Y-K-A-T-Z, and subscribe today. That's rumble.com, search for Tony Katz, and subscribe to the Tony Katz Today podcast. Enjoy it and share it every day. The Tony Katz Today podcast at rumble.com.
Weekends are not a time for politics or news or craziness in the world. Weekends are a time for friends and family, pouring a well-crafted beer and maybe smoking a luxurious cigar. Each week, Eat, Drink, Smoke reviews cigars and craft spirits, interview news that will make you interested, not angry. Eat, Drink, Smoke with cigar aficionado Tony Katz and America's favorite amateur drinker, Fingers Malloy. The perfect complement to your weekend activities. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Google Play, or wherever you get your podcasts. Find out more at eatdrinksmokeshow.com.
Lincoln, KFOR. Now that the vaccines are making the rounds in Nebraska, you may be wondering about what a post-COVID life will be like here in Lincoln. Will you still have to work from home? Will the mayor and your health department keep crowd limits in place? What about air travel? Which vaccination is best? How and when to get yours? There's a lot to talk about. Stay connected and find out what's next. FM 103.3, 1240 AM, KFOR. What do you get when you talk to a Dell Technologies advisor? You get someone who understands there's an art to listening, who's able to hear more than what's being said, and can provide tailored small business solutions that make you feel truly heard. For advice on everything from laptops to the cloud and solutions powered by Intel Vivo platforms, call an advisor today at 877-SASDEL. Hi, this is Joe Cordell of the law firm Cordell & Cordell. When the prospect of divorce becomes a reality, you need a partner that you can count on. If you're a man in this situation, consider contacting Cordell & Cordell. We've helped men navigate complex legal matters for 30 years. Contact Cordell & Cordell to schedule an appointment with one of our firm's Lincoln area attorneys. Online at CordellCordell.com. 233 South 13th Street, Suite 1100, Lincoln, Nebraska 68501. And brand. And as you know, one of the worst things you can say in any business or in life for that matter is, but we've never done it that way before. That approach stops us from making decisions that could have been great. We just keep doing the same thing, even if we're not happy with it, even while we're complaining about it. We just keep doing it. What if there's a better way? This is why considering Meta shares for your healthcare bill is such a great idea. It works, it's less expensive, it's convenient, it's a better way for so many people to pay for their healthcare. And thinking, but we've never done it that way before, is a great way to miss out on major savings. The typical family saves $500 a month, and you miss out on the huge network of doctors, the free telehealth services, the great customer service, and being part of something that matters. With more than 400,000 members sharing each other's healthcare bills. So you've never done it this way before? No problem. Just call. It starts saving right now. Call 855-51-BIBLE. That's 855-51-BIBLE. 855-51-BIBLE.
This is your HelloFresh mini break. There will be no grocery store crowds today, or figuring out what's in the fridge. You already chose from over 25 chef-created recipes this week. There will be a HelloFresh box on your doorstep, filled with fresh, pre-portioned ingredients that, in as little as 20 minutes, will become restaurant-quality meals. And giving yourself a break is back on the table.
Go to HelloFresh.com/News12 and use code News12 to get 12 free meals, including free shipping. That's HelloFresh.com/News12, code News12.
Tony Katz today. Fun, outspoken, and truly Midwest. On Lincoln's new generation of talk. FM 103.3, 1240 AM, KFOR.
So I've been coming through this book about civility. Reading book, it's the first book in a long time where I've taken the time to underline. I want to make sure I remember this, so I want to write myself a little note in the margin. Tony Katz today. It's great to be with you guys. As always, Facebook, Tony Katz, radio, TonyKatz.com. Get the podcast, subscribe, like, follow, do all the things. Because this conversation about civility is so incredibly important. And I know there's a great piece over at redspace.com by Kira Davis who has filled in for me this week, and I greatly appreciate it. I'm supposed to be on vacation. I just wanted a week.
They had a really good team. And we were really a bunch of nobodies, and nobody really had heard of us before. But we gave them a good run for their money in 75, and then finally beat them. I was in awe of what was going on over the last week of the season. I was so nervous going to the best in my life. I was going to the best because I was so nervous about the chance of making first season play. But sure enough, we did them. They were pretty well popular on the Opening Day in connection. I think the eventual game winner, and we ended up going to playoffs. And what a wonderful experience it was. Obviously, I think everybody on our team was extremely nervous, but we gave the Yankees a good run for their money. Chris Chambliss hit a home run off us in the bottom of the ninth inning in the fifth and final game of the playoffs. And then we kind of lose again in 76 or 77, and in 78 we lose. 79 we missed the playoffs by 2 games, but 80 is the series that I'll never forget. Finally beating the Yankees, it was like winning the World Series to not only me, but I think the town of Kansas City, and I think all the guys that have been on the Royals and for those losses in 76, 77, and 78. It was the greatest feeling I ever had in a baseball uniform until 1985.
Yeah, what was for those who are too young to remember, or they weren't in Kansas City then, talk a little bit about that, the Royals-Yankees rivalry in those days.
Well, if we win 6 games this year, I hope we win 6 against the Yankees and lose 150 against everybody else. I still don't like them. Maybe jealous of them a little bit because of all the success they've had over the years. But I don't know, it was, they knew they were in for a fight every time they played us, and we knew we were in a fight every time we played them. Very physical, I mean, no holds barred games. They didn't like us, we didn't like them. I remember Hal McRae one time sliding in and knocking Bucky Dent in the left field and laying on him, breaking up a double play. And I remember Lou Piniella, a guy I played with in Kansas City my rookie year, get traded to the Yankees, and then all of a sudden there's a play at third base one time. He's going first to third, that base hits the right field. The throw is down the left field line a little bit. I was there about 3 feet outside the flag. And Lou slides in the third, and he tries to fight. And then I remember one game when I was triple in the first inning off Ron Gidley, and I played the third, real bang first play, and kind of came out and threw an elbow with Greg Neto, tried to knock the ball out of his glove, and he steps back and kicks me. I get up, this is the 5th and final game of the 77 playoffs, I'm crying out loud. I get up and I throw a punch and get the big ball right by third base, and all of a sudden after I'm laying on the ground and everybody dog piles on me, and I'm sitting around going, that was stupid, now I'm kicked out of the game. But at least he's kicked out of the game too. But I think the umpires in baseball knew what a great series it was and didn't want to eject us out of the ball game, so they decided to leave us in the ball game, which I thought was pretty cool. But it was, they were a hard fought, and it was a huge rivalry for years and years and years in Kansas City. And then when we kind of started our decline, they started their decline, and all of a sudden, the Yankees come in town, there's more Yankee fans than Royal fans, but I know Royal fans, if they went to Yankee Stadium wearing a Royal hat, they were in trouble, and a Yankee fan back in the 70s and the 80s, if they came to Royal Stadium wearing a Yankee hat, they were in trouble. That's how big the rivalry was.
How about the 1980 season, you know, the chase for the 400, the MVP, I mean, talk about a year when it all came together, of course, to get into the first World Series. What was that year like? And each day, the average is way up there, and you're having success, and you know, media wasn't then what it is now, but still there had to be coming some media. What was that year like for you?
Well, I don't think I got off to that great of a start. I never really got off to a good start. You know, a good start to me was maybe 2:30 in April. And then all of a sudden, around my birthday, May 15th, I was started swinging the bat good. I think growing up in Southern California and playing 99% of my baseball in warm weather, even to the minor leagues, you know, I was just kind of a warm weather player. In the cold weather, I just didn't feel comfortable. The bat didn't feel good in my hands. I don't know what it was, but I never really panicked, and, you know, probably hitting 250 in the end of April, and, you know, thought it was just going to be another year where you hit a little over 300 and, you know, driving some runs, score some runs, and hope to win some ball games. And then all of a sudden I got hot, and I got hot for a long time, and the average climbed. And I think one benefit that I had that year is I stole the base in sleep about midsummer, and there was a high throw from the catcher, and the shortstop jumped up real high, and I kind of got distracted by that. I jammed my ankle in the bag and tore ligaments in my right ankle, and I missed 6 weeks of the season. But at that time, I think I was about 360, and I did my rehab, and about 5.5, 6 weeks later, I'm back playing. I never missed a beat. It was at the end of the season. Usually it takes you 4, 5, 6 games to get your rhythm back, your timing, and see the ball, and keep your swing feel comfortable. I never missed a beat. And then I remember the game 6 weeks ago in the season, a Sunday game in Kansas City against the Blue Jays, and they brought in a guy, Mike Barlow, who struck me out the night before on sinkers down and away. And John Walker was sitting in front of me that day, and they walked him in the 8th inning, sitting 399. And they walked John on 4 pitches, and with every ball that they threw John, the ovation got louder and louder. And then I stepped up, and I remember, I said, okay, he struck me out on a sinker away yesterday. He's probably going to try to do it again. And sure enough, he threw me a sinker away, and I hit a line drive over the left fielder's head and cleared the bases, and then that was the 401. Afterwards, everybody comes in the locker room, and they're saying, hey, you're hitting over 400, you know. Ted Williams was the last guy to do it. I said, oh, yeah, what year was that? I just told much about that then, you know. Oh, it was 1941. The same year that Angelo had the 56-game hitting streak. You know, I learned a lot from Ted Williams that year. And everybody asked me if I was going to try to hit 400 or if they thought I could do it. I said, you guys are a bunch of clowns. There's 6 weeks to go in the season. Hey, I'm seeing the ball good. I'm hitting it hard. Right now I feel great. Yeah, I'm just going to do what I can do. Go out there and just try to help the team win. But little did I know that for the next month I'd still be over 400. And during that time, Dean Vogler was our traveling secretary, and he had talked to a guy named Bob Fickle, who worked in the American League front office. Bob was with the Yankees in 61 when Roger Maris hit 61 home runs, and Dean called Bob and he said, hey, what did I do with George Immediate? He said, he said, here's one thing I didn't do for Roger, I didn't help him. And so Dean said, okay, here's what we're going to do. And Bob Fickle recommended this. He said, George, you're going to have a half-hour press conference before the game and a half-hour press conference after the game. And what do you mean? They're not going to, big deal. You know, they're not going to, no one's going to be that interested every day. Well, as long as I was over 400, that room was packed. But it did take away from doing 3 or 4 live eyes during batting practice. It did take away from, you know, one guy coming up and talking to you, and then 2 minutes later, another guy coming up asking the same questions. He decided that we should just do it all together in a room. So we did that for a month. Now, after 2 weeks to go in the season, I'm still over 400. And now, with every week, maybe 2 or 3 more guys are coming to these meetings, you know, or these press conferences. We go to Seattle, and I'm doing my stuff, and I hit the ball extremely well in Seattle. I think I went 1 for 11 with a walk. My only hit was a home run. And I went 1 for 11. And the shortstop, Mario Mendoza, must have robbed me of 3 or 4 hits. The center fielder made 2 diving catches in the gap. Here we are, 23 games up. They're 40 games out of first place. I got a chance here 400. And they're playing their best baseball and just see what I did. And I'm going, what the hell's going on here? Well, little did I know that about a week later, I'm hitting 384. All the media leaves me alone. They go home and they say, well, they gave it a good try, but we didn't think you could do it anyway. I went out and hit 500 the last 4 games of the season and got it back up to 390. And actually came to the game, the last game of the season, thinking that I was going to play. I knew if I went 5 for 5, which I had done that year probably 2 or 3 times and had done before in my career, I said, just leave me off. Whatever you want to do, and if I make it out, take me out. They said, George, here's the problem we have in that. And I said, what's the problem? They said, we start the playoffs in 2 days. What happens if you go out and get hurt? We know how you play. You play all out 100%. We don't need you to play 100% today, but you're going to do that. Every time you make contact, you're going to run as hard as you can. And I don't care if it's 10 to 1 or whatever. You're going to stretch a single and a double. And I know you're going to break up a double play. What happens if you get hurt? I said, okay, you're right. Let's sit it down. So, you know, the chances of me going 5 for 5, I would say probably 2%, but I came anticipating doing that. And I'll be very honest with you, earlier in the year I talked to Ted Williams and I asked him, you know, what it was like, and he said, you know, I knew I was going to get more hits than I made out my last game of the year, doubleheader, when he went 6 for 8. And I knew if I was hitting 401, I was playing. I was going out playing. If I was hitting 400 in those, because all I had to do was go 1 for 3. 1 for 3 and I'm still over 400. So I missed it by 5 hits in 117 games. And I'll never forget going home. I didn't go home for Thanksgiving very often. I went home for Thanksgiving that year. And I walked in the house and my dad said to me, you need to tell me you couldn't have got 5 more hits.
Thanks, Dad. George, the 80, you talked about beating the Yankees, how big that was. And the World Series, you know, talking to people, teammates of yours and so forth, and to people in Kansas City, was almost like you woke up and said, oh yeah, now we got the World Series to play. And of course the Phillies won that series, but just tell me about that series.
Well, it was interesting. I think we were at the airport in New York waiting to see who was going to win between the plane was loaded up, TWA was loaded up full of gas and full of food, and we didn't know if we were going to take a 20-minute flight to Philadelphia or a 2.5-hour flight to Houston. So we're watching the final game of the playoffs there, and I think a lot of us wanted Houston to win because, you know, the Phillies lineup scared me a little bit. Houston's starting pitching scared us a lot. But we had a good enough offensive club. I think we could have beat Houston. And we did something very uncharacteristic that year. We blew 2 games with leads in the 8th inning, or 7th and 8th inning. The first 2 games we had leads in the 7th inning and blew them. I wouldn't say blew them, but they got key hits. They had a home run, they had bases loaded double, and ended up losing ball games. And that's something that we didn't do back then. If we had the lead in the 7th, 8th inning, we usually won the ball game. We'd come back, win the next 2 games at home, and then lose games 5 and 6, game 6 in Philadelphia. That was a great experience. I mean, it was really good. And I can sit back here and see, we can sit and visit, and I'll say, you know, 76, yeah, I was really disappointed we lost. Yeah, it's very disappointing, but what a great learning experience. I think whenever you can learn something from defeat, the better ball player you're going to be. And I learned an awful lot from losing the playoffs all those years. I mean, it prepared me even more in 1985 when we first won a World Series. I was more prepared than that for anything, I think, because of all the defeats that we had suffered before.
Yeah, just your thoughts about 85 and you know, lasting memory.
Great pitching staff, good defense, not a lot of offense. I think we're last in the league in home runs, last in the league in RBIs, but we won a lot of close games. It's hard to say. We had good solid pitching in the playoffs in the World Series, especially. He was on Denny Jackson, Charlie Lee Grant, Devin Black, Mark Lutzau. I don't even think pitched in the World Series, and he won 17, 18 games for us that year. And we had the bullpen at Quisenberry. Again, Quisenberry was able to close that game. Steve Park came out of nowhere. Here he is pitching I think the third game of the playoffs, which was the best game I ever played in my life, against the Toronto Blue Jays. He's out there pitching the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning against them. And Quisenberry's in the bullpen. I'm going, Dick, what's wrong with you? Get in, Quiz! But, you know, Steve Farr came out of nowhere, and then he went on to New York and became a great closer and ended up having a great major league career. So we did it with pitching and defense and timely hitting. And I'll tell you one thing. It wasn't the best team I ever played on, but it was the closest knit group of guys I've ever played with in all my life. Nobody was jealous of anybody. Everybody pulled for one another. And I think Dick Hauser was a perfect manager for us because he never panicked. He never panicked. We were down 2 games to none to the Blue Jays, and had a little meeting, and he used to have this expression, pee on it, we'll get it done, but in different terms. And he said, don't panic, guys. You guys are better than them. And On paper, they were a lot better than we were, the Toronto Blue Jays. I think on paper, the St. Louis Cardinals were a lot better than we were also. But we were able to stay focused and bear down when we had to and stay relaxed and win Game 7 in both of those series.
As we wrap it up here, George, we appreciate your time in this delay to be able to visit with us. What did it and what does it mean? Because you're still a Royal, you're still with the organization, have been and still in uniform, spring training every year, every day. What did it and what does it mean to be a Royal?
It means everything. God, who would have thought that when I signed out of Southern California and lived on the beach and had a home in Palm Springs all those years that I'd be living in Kansas City still to this day, married a gal from Kansas, all three of my kids born in Kansas, actually Missouri at St. Luke's Hospital in the Plaza, but all three of my kids go to County Mission East right now, and to be part of that community and to see the organization go through its really, really long dry spell, and now all of a sudden you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, changing directions and all the excitement. I remember coming here and we'd have 15, 16, 6-year minor league free agents in camp. We have 2 this year. We have a lot of homegrown talent here, and it's a lot more fun this year because I can see the light at the end of the tunnel and really looking forward to the next 3 or 4 or 5 years in this organization. Hopefully 2 years, but it might take 3 when we're very, very competitive, and maybe 4 or 5 when we start winning championships again.
Well, if you're keeping score, George's last statement there, that was in spring training in 2011. He reported that, and he was just predicting championships within 4 or 5 years. Well, it was 4 years later for the World Series. So, anyway, hope you enjoyed as we went back there and heard from George. Okay, when we come back, by the way, we have a start time now. Start time, the appointed hour, 5:20 on the south side. The Royals and White Sox will play at 5:20 as they're getting the field ready. When we come back, one more recorded interview with the great John Miller, voice of the Giants, longtime voice of ESPN Sunday Night Baseball. That's when we come back.
Your Royals are back at the K for an exciting 10-game homestand beginning Monday. First up, the Royals welcome the Angels for a 3-game set starting at 7:10. Game 2 on Tuesday also begins at 7:10. And first pitch for the series finale is Wednesday afternoon at 1:10. The Still-Air Flex Pack is the perfect way to reserve your seats for Royals action. 12 vouchers to use however you want. Just $120. Tickets and details at Royals.com and 1-800-6-ROYALS. Summertime is finally here, and nothing brings on the feeling of summer more than delicious ballpark franks. Get ready for firing up the grill time, swimming pool time, playing catch in the yard time, asking mustard or ketchup or both time. So round up the family, get out the buns, fire up the grill, and say hello to summer with Ballpark Beef Franks, made with 100% beef. Ballpark Franks, bring on summer.
Baseball is here again, and so are the sights and sounds that we love about the game. Baseball is all about community. And like your favorite team, CapFed is always there to support our community. While the world is changing, we will continue to persevere together.
To the experts, Wellman Heating and Air Conditioning, your factory authorized dealer for Carrier products. WellmanHeating.com.
On our first date, we had masks on and kept 6 feet apart. Now, we're a lot closer.
Just like Cliff and Deb, thousands of singles over 50 found their perfect match on Silver Singles last year.
I feel like I'm 20 years old again, and I'm pretty sure she feels the same way.
Rediscover the magic of dating with Silver Singles, the exclusive community for singles over 50. Sign up today and receive daily matches you won't want to miss at silversingles.com/radio. silversingles.com/radio. Your #1 Nebraska sports fan, Auto Owners Insurance and Forsyth Insurance Agency is a winning combination. Be a part of this winning combination by getting a local independent insurance agent. Personal work with you to ensure you are protected with your home, auto, business, and life. Everything you've done is safe, sound, secure. Auto Owners Insurance. Visit Forsyth Insurance Agency today located right here in Lincoln, just off the beacon.
And at Buckingham Palace, a constant stream of people paying their respects after the death of Queen Elizabeth's husband. Because of the pandemic, the entire service will be at Windsor Castle and limited to 30 guests. More from ABC News Royal contributor Victoria Murphy.
There was never a plan for a state funeral. That was never Philip's wishes, but there were plans for some ceremonial elements, some elements involving the military, and of course there were original plans for crowds to gather, which are now not going to happen.
Back home, Joel Greenberg, an associate of Congressman Matt Gaetz, considering a plea deal and charges related to the federal investigation into Gaetz for possible sex crimes. More from ABC's Alex Crochet in Washington.
The congressman's office responding in a statement saying these allegations are blatantly false and have not been validated by a single human being willing to put their name behind them. But Gaetz is lawyering up, hiring a new legal team with ties to former President Trump.
Gaetz refusing calls to resign. States around the nation scaling back vaccination schedules because of an 85% drop in Johnson & Johnson deliveries next week. This following an ingredient mix-up at a Maryland facility. ABC's Trevor Ault has more.
While schools like Syracuse University in New York have enough vaccines right now, shipments to the state are expected to drop dramatically next week. And with fewer Johnson & Johnson appointments available across the country, some students are scrambling to get the Pfizer or Moderna shots, which require 2 separate doses.
Dr. Andrew Baker, who conducted the autopsy of George Floyd, taking the stand Friday in the trial of former officer Garrett Chauvin, charged in George Floyd's death, saying he stands by his ruling of that death as a homicide. Iran says it's begun mechanical tests on its newest advanced nuclear centrifuges, even as 5 world powers say that's against the nuclear deal. You're listening to ABC News.
What can give you a competitive edge in today's red-hot housing market? Rocket can. That's because Rocket Mortgage can give you a verified approval. It could help your offer stand out, because when you find the perfect home, you don't want to lose it to anybody else. Rocket Technology provides a rock-solid verification of your income, assets, and credit, giving sellers and their agents greater confidence in you. We've already helped over 1 million clients just like you reach their home financing goals this year alone. So remember this. What can help you buy the home you really want? Rocket can. Go to rocketmortgage.com or call us today at 8338-ROCKET. That's rocketmortgage.com or call 8338-ROCKET.
A verified approval is based on an underwriter's analysis of your individual financial information, appraisal, and title report, all cost information, and conditions, equal housing lender license in all 50 states, and MLSconsumeraccess.org, number 3030.
4 members of a California militia group associated with the anti-government Boogaloo movement were indicted Friday. ABC's Todd Ants has more on that.
The Department of Justice says the 4 men conspired to destroy communications and other records related to last year's killing of federal security officer David Patrick Underwood and the attempted murder of his partner outside a federal building in Oakland. It happened while a large George Floyd demonstration was underway nearby. According to the federal grand jury indictment, the men met on Facebook and used WhatsApp to communicate about tactics to kill police officers. 2 other men have been charged in the crime. Boogaloo adherents are part of a loose anti-government pro-gun extremist movement, a slang term referencing a second civil war. Todd Ant, ABC News.
Some athletes, coaches, and advocates are calling on the NCAA to help fight state laws banning transgender athletes from competing in organized sports. We get more from ABC's Chuck Sievertson.
Cece Tefler, the first openly transgender woman to win an NCAA title in track and field.
I'm not a threat to women's sports because I am a woman.
Cheryl Reeve, WNBA Minnesota Lynx head coach.
Trans inclusion makes our sports, our teams, and our communities stronger.
Alfonso David, president of the Human Rights Campaign, says the stigma
Fuels an epidemic of violence.
NCAA rules require transgender women to take hormone-suppressing drugs for a year before competing. Chuck Sievertson, ABC News.
This is ABC News.
Your nose is the body's air filter, the first line of defense against airborne allergens, bacteria, and viruses. You wash your hands to protect your health. Now you can clean your nose with Navage. Online at Navage.com. Navage, clean healthy life.
Show your age. Show boldness. Show fearlessness. Show luxuriously fuller hair. With Hair Biology thickening treatment, designed to work with your hair as you age. Proudly show your age with Hair Biology. Available at Target and Target.com.
Dave Packer, ABC News.
From the KFOR newsroom, I'm Jeff Bryden. Nebraska lawmakers have set the stage for a new $230 million prison even as other states close theirs, but they stopped short of fully endorsing the idea. The legislature's Budget Writing Appropriations Committee agreed to set aside $115 million, half of the new prison's cost, but members held off on approving the money until they know more about their options. City Councilman Roy Christensen suffered a stroke and is currently under care at the Lincoln Hospital. In a statement issued Friday, Christensen said he began losing feeling in his left arm and leg shortly after receiving his COVID-19 shot on Wednesday. He went into a hospital Friday morning and said he plans to go home today and resume a normal schedule next week. The Nebraska baseball team is now 14-5 after they picked up their 9th win over the past 10 games with a 6-2 victory against Maryland in Friday's series opener at Hawks Field. I'm Jeff Bryden, KFOR News.
The following program was pre-recorded. This is America's healthcare advocate, broadcasting coast to coast across the USA. Your guide to protecting your personal health, bringing you simplified answers to the complex questions surrounding healthcare.
Everything from cancer to liver transplant,
nutrition, exercise,
my yoga and Pilates instructor, Dana Goodale,
mental health, and even pet care.
Dr. Wayne Hunthausen, Westwood Animal Hospital,
empowering you to take control of your health and wellness.
My very special guest today, Grace Marie Turner, president of the Galen Institute. Welcome back, Grace Marie.
Well, Terry, it's a pleasure to be with you, and I do have to say, you are the most knowledgeable about health policy, just superlative.
And now, ladies and gentlemen,
and now, America's healthcare advocate, Terry Hall.
Hello, America. Welcome to America's Healthcare Advocate Show, broadcasting coast to coast across the USA. Our producer today, Mr. Oscar Monterosa. I'm your host, Terry Hall. This is your show, America. Thank you for joining us and making us one of the most listened to talk shows throughout the United States. 286 affiliates strong. I never would have thought that was going to happen, but it has, and it's because of all you and the listening audience that listen to this broadcast, and we get your fefeedback and